Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ham Radio Dude. If you haven't been here before, you're going to want to subscribe because I do stupid with radios, like throw them out windows, put them underwater, run them through torture tests, and in the future I'll be shooting them with firearms to see how durable they really are. Today's radio is no exception. This is the Alinco DJ-VX50. I must have got really lucky because this radio was $99 through Gigaparts, and I put it in my cart and I forgot about it for a few days, and I got a notification from Gigaparts that said, hey, I'll give you an offer if you buy that radio. So I got another 10% off or whatever. It paid for taxes, I'm sure. But I bought this radio and then it was out of stock. So I must have got maybe the last one or one of the last ones. And it arrived in a couple of days. I've been taking a look at it. Haven't worked too much with it, but I've been researching some of the features. Let's jump in and talk about those features. You're going to see here the radio that I purchased from Gigaparts, the Alinco DJ-VX50T, and it's no longer in stock and they're not accepting back orders, which is not necessarily uncommon during these pandemic times. But the nice thing is we could still access the information about the radio by paging down. And really the overview only specifies that it's 5 watts on VHF and 4 watts on UHF. Additionally, there is some more information on there, but it's all listed here under features. So some of the features that drew me to this radio, and it'll probably draw some people to this radio, are the fact that it does have VHF air band or VHF AM air band. It has no other radio receiver, FM broadcast, and it's semi-duoplex dual band VHF VHF or UHF UHF. 200 memory channels for any mixture of VHF and UHF channels. It does have an internal Vox. And there is some things that are standard on most radios these days. But one of the things that really kind of tipped me off about purchasing this radio is I've been on a kick lately for these IP67 rated radios to see how well they actually do perform. And this one is IP67 rated. It does have a 1800 milliamp hour lithium ion battery. It does wide and narrow FM transmit and receive. And it does automatic repeater shifting. Some other specifications that stood out to me about this radio were the 1 watt speaker for audio output with only 10% distortion. But even better then was this radio allegedly can operate between -4 degrees Fahrenheit and 131 degrees Fahrenheit. And I might have a way to test that out by the end of the episode. While looking online, I found a couple people who shared the same concern as I did, and that is that there was very few reviews on this radio. You either get a 5-star rating or a 1-star rating, and there was nothing really in between. So I said, I'm going to buy this radio, jump into it, and we're going to kind of just take a look at it together and maybe give you an opinion on what you think. Provided this radio actually does withstand my torture test, we'll do a full demonstration and review at a later date. But I do want to just show you what you get. You get your antenna, you get the radio, you get a charger, you get a charger adapter, and then you get a belt clip. And I'll give you a little ASMR. Apparently I'm not too good at ASMR. Sorry, folks. Oh, and you get a little lanyard too. Anyway, here's 2 screws and the belt clip. Let's go ahead and install the belt clip. Sometimes it's easier to actually take the battery out. And install the belt clip that way. When I put the battery in, it should just slide up and click into place. You're going to want to go ahead and make sure that the battery did click into place and that everything is secure. It doesn't just pull out. And the reason for that is if we're going to be putting this underwater, We want to make sure that we do everything right to prevent any kind of water from accessing any critical components, which brings me to my next point. And that next point is this microphone and speaker adapter. There's a cover here. And the reason there's a cover here, it works like a plug. It's a little piece of rubber here. And it's supposed to not let water inside of the adapter. So if we unscrew this, it should be pretty tight. We're going to unscrew this and take this apart for just a moment. What you see now is you see that it's actually using jacks for the microphone and the speaker, as opposed to something like a Baofeng UV9R Plus that's using a contact-based system, and in my eyes will probably be a little more durable under the pressure of potential water exposure. So I do have some concerns about this right here, but it's probably going to be okay with the plug that they have, provided that when you put this back on, you put it on correctly, and you have the screw tightened down fully. I'm not saying like when you tighten this to tighten it until there's a death grip on it and you end up stripping it. I'm just saying like make sure it's actually secured on there. So, I mean, it's tight now. I don't feel like it can go anymore, but I'm not overdoing it. We talk about the antenna, and the antenna here is a SMA male on the radio and an SMA female on the actual antenna itself. I do want to show you guys a couple things about the radio. And the first thing I want to make note of is how vibrant that LCD is. It's very vibrant. It looks really good. It's appealing to the eye. The letters are spaced out enough where, I can make note that it's 145.150 and I'm not like squinting my eyes to try to figure out what it says. So I do respect that. There's a whole front panel display here, which in another episode we'll get into programming this radio via the front panel display, because as of right now, I found no Alinco software that'll allow me to program this thing via a computer. And that's very, very disappointing. Now, Chirp doesn't support this radio. You could buy RT System software and their special programming cable, but I think it'll run you about $50. And for a $100 radio, it ain't worth it. Anyway, so we'll go over that front panel programming display. We'll go into some of the features and menu items a little bit more. But I did really appreciate how vibrant that LCD display is. And if any of you guys do happen to know of some kind of a Alinco software that'll let me program this thing, please let me know in the comments, because, there are some times where I miss certain things. But if that is the case and you can't program this radio via computer, this is going to be why this radio doesn't sell as much as it should, in my opinion. Currently, the radio is on the charger. We're going to charge it up so we could turn it on and throw it in the water, and then we'll start up the clock. And I want to make a note about this clock. It's an Arduino-based clock, and I'll be making a video, or actually the video should be done here pretty shortly, on how to build this clock if you want to build one yourself.
The Chicago O'Hare climate summary for the month of October 2020. The maximum temperature.
While editing this video, there's a couple observations I'm making. And the first one is something I did not see in real life or in person, but I see it clearly on the video. On the center knob of this radio, there's some kind of gas emitting from the radio. And if it's not a gas, it could be a chemical from maybe the new plastics on the radio. I'm not quite sure, but I'm actually kind of curious to know what you guys think. If anybody happens to know what it is, let me know in the comments below. And if nobody knows, I'll go ahead and I'll reach out to Alinco. And that'll allow me to test their support as well and see how good their support is. I also feel it's worth noting that I don't know where this radio is made. All over the box it shows Alinco Japan, which Alinco is a Japanese company, but the battery shows made in China, and there is no country of origin on the radio itself. Also want to mention that I put this radio in the water at 4 minutes and 47 seconds roughly, and I took it out right around 30 minutes. So I had this thing submerged in the water for about 25 minutes. But anyway, so this thing withstood 30 minutes in the water or 25 minutes in the water. I took it out, and I'll show you here in just a second. When I took it out, the thing was still working on the audio. Now, the audio wasn't as good as it was when I put it in, but after just like a little shake, the audio was crystal clear again, or just as it was before. So that was really cool. I did then transmit and receive, and there's absolutely no problems with this radio. Water did get in the typical places, and when I say that, I'll actually play a video where you can see all that.
Sunny. Waves 1 to 2 feet. Clear. Waves 1 to 3 feet. Wednesday, southwest winds 15 to 20 knots. Sunny. Waves 1 to 3 feet. Wednesday night, southwest winds 15 to 20 knots. Partly cloudy in the evening, then becoming mostly cloudy. Waves 1 to 3 feet. You're listening to NOAA Weather Radio, KXI 41.
I had the same problem with the Baofeng UV9R, so I don't know if it's a huge deal. But if I flip this over, let's take a look at the contacts here, and you see that that's become corrosive. So, yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. It's also the kind of risk I guess we take. I'll have to see what I could do about getting that cleaned up, and I don't think I'll be able to. Unfortunate, but yeah, that's what happens. Let's take a look inside. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to wipe this down just as good as I can on the external part, and we're going to open up the battery terminal to see if any water got in the battery area. And we'll do the same thing with the antenna portion as well as the side microphone speaker adapter. I can tell you there's some moisture in there. In fact, you could probably see it right here. So moisture did get in pretty much everywhere except these terminals are clean. And the reason these terminals are clean is that little rubber grommet right there, or a little rubber washer. In fact, those even appear to be a tad moist, but that could be me taking it out. This whole inside, though, was wet for sure. I guess it's to be expected. If you were, throwing this underwater for 30 minutes, you might want to consider taking it out and patting it down just to be safe. But yeah, that was a little bit wet. Doesn't look like it corroded anything in there, though, so that looks pretty good. Taking a look at this battery here, the little bit of water we see right here, there was a little bit, but I think the seal protected it from going all the way to the contact, so that's good. There's a tad bit of water right here. You could see it. Well, but what I will say is, again, I think that seal protected most of the moisture from going in. And taking a look at the little plate and the little rubber stop right here, it's completely dry. So my concern about the microphone jack and the headphone jack ended up not being a concern after all. The thing got no moisture in it, so that's good. That's really good. And finally, we're going to take a look at the antenna part here and see if any moisture got into the antenna area. No, there's no moisture in there, so that's good. I still got to wipe it down just to be safe. I keep feeling moisture coming out of the speaker area, but I guess that's to be expected. It's going to take a little bit of time for it to get out. Let's go ahead and just plug this in again. Make sure everything clicks back into place. And it does. Turns back on. Sounds good. I tested out the radio's transmit capabilities and everything was fine. So overall, this radio withstood the time underwater and everything seems to be good. I will be doing future videos on how to program this thing via the front panel display. I'll do a video on all the features and all the menu options it has to offer, as well as shortcuts, and then I'll give an overall review. If by chance there's anything that you heard me say today that maybe you have some information on, such as that Alinco programming software, hit me up in the comments below. I'd really like to hear about it. Until next time, I'm Ham Radio Dude 73.